Good morning, wonderful little Jays. It's Miss Frizzle today, and I'm going to read you The Magic School Bus in the Arctic. Oh, this should be a wonderful book. Are you ready? Here we go. The Magic School Bus in the Arctic. Miss Frizzle is the weirdest teacher in the school. Strange things always seem to happen in her class, but it had gotten to be so cold outside, not even Miss Frizzle could do anything too unusual, or so we thought. It all started in the cafeteria when Arnold ordered a steaming cup of hot cocoa with marshmallows. Yum. By the time he took his first sip, the heat had escaped out the open window. Arnold was left with yucky, cold cocoa. Where did all the hot go? He asked. That's when Miss Frizzle got that snowy sparkle in her eye. I thought you'd never ask. The next thing we knew, we were on the Magic School Bus, but now it had skis and tractor treads instead of tires. We were traveling through one of the coldest places on Earth, the Arctic, and we didn't even have our coats on. At my old school, we would have worn jackets if we visited the Arctic. Jackets? Oh my! Miss Frizzle pressed a button and jackets dropped from the top of the bus. But they were too thin to keep us warm. And while the Frizz was searching for the warm jacket button, she drove the bus into deep, ice-cold water. When we got to the other side, the bus was dripping with ice and the engine was frozen. Then the bus just stopped and we were stuck in the Arctic. Oops, what happened? We got stopped cold. We had to figure out a way to warm up the bus and get back home. We were cold, but poor Liz was freezing. Liz is cold-blooded. She gets most of her heat from outside her body, explained Phoebe as she tucked Liz inside her jacket. Don't worry, Liz, she said. I'm warm-blooded. My heat is your heat. According to my research, the Arctic temperature can drop to 100 degrees below zero. Just then, Wanda pulled out an old wooden trunk from under a seat. Inside, we found a bunch of goggles. Miss Frizzle said they were heat peepers. Heat peepers? It was amazing. When we put them on, we could actually see heat moving out of our bodies. Moving heat must mean losing heat, said Phoebe. We could see the heat escaping right out of the top of the bus. The heat from our bodies is going out of the bus. The heat from my cocoa must have gone out the window the same way. The heat was escaping fast. We needed a heat source. Luckily, Arnold found some wood inside the old trunk. In no time, a fire was burning and Miss Frizzle was cheerfully brewing hot lemon water tea. The fire is a very good source of heat. This trip is really heating up. The wood didn't last long, so we broke another wooden trunk into pieces. Out fell some hot water bottles. Miss Frizzle poured tea into a hot water bottle. With our heat peepers, we could see the heat going into it. Carlos stuck the bottle inside his jacket. He felt warmer right away. Arnold looked at the other hot water bottles on the ground. What if we cover the engine of the bus with hot water bottles, he suggested. The heat from the bottles will move into the engine will warm up, the bus will start, and we can go home. It was a good idea, but it was too late. This hot water bottle is my own personal heat source. Just then, the ice we were standing on cracked into pieces. The bus floated away, and so did Ralphie and Phoebe and Liz. Don't panic, Ralphie and Phoebe. Go with the flow. At my old school, we never floated away on ice floes. We had to save Ralphie and Phoebe, but we were freezing. Look, said Carlos, the heat from my hot water bottle is almost gone. We have to find something else to keep ourselves warm, Arnold said. He looked at Dorothy Ann's book. We could use that. Arnold started to rip out pages from the book and stuff them inside his jacket. I hate to hurt a book, but this is an emergency. Putting this paper between us and the cold air might keep the heat from escaping, Arnold explained. The paper did slow down the loss of heat a little bit. Miss Frizzle said the paper was acting like insulation. It was holding in heat, but we still needed a better heat source if we were going to save the bus and go home. There's a full coat and a heat source due north of here, said the Frizz. Follow me. I'm trying to hold in the heat. Very good, Arnold. You're having an insulation inspiration. Miss Frizzle was right. This heat source was warm, furry, and smelled like fish. Suddenly, we got it. There was no ordinary heat source. This was a polar bear. Run, said Carlos. Hide, said Tim. Oh bad, oh bad, oh bad, said Keisha. Miss Frizzle came to the rescue. She whipped out the porta shrinker and zap! We were as small as a bee's knees. We whirled into the bear's fur. Where did they go? I think they've been frizzled. We were tiny but warm. We could see the heat coming out of the polar bear's body and getting trapped by its thick, tangled fur. The fur kept in the heat, just like the paper under our jackets kept in our body heat. Suddenly, our polar bear got itchy. We tried to hang on, but we couldn't. It was time to make tracks. This trip is unbearable. Back on the bus, Phoebe and Ralphie were pretty cold. Phoebe searched the bus for blankets, but when she reached inside the blanket compartment, she came out with a handful of gloopy blubber. What kind of blanket is this? Asked Phoebe. It's a fat blanket, said Ralphie, looking through his heat peepers, and it sure can keep in the heat. This blanket is as soft as butter. It's 100% fat. Suddenly, the bus tipped dangerously. Ralphie and Phoebe looked out and saw walruses trying to climb onto the ice floe. Is it just me, or are those walruses floating in freezing cold water without losing much body heat? Phoebe asked. And they don't have thick fur like polar bears. All that blubber in their bodies traps their heat, just like the fat on your hand, Ralphie said. If it's good enough for a walrus, it's good enough for us, said Phoebe. Then she and Ralphie covered themselves from head to toe in gloopy fat. Look, I'm as warm as a walrus. But Phoebe and Ralphie weren't out of the cold water yet. Their ice floe was breaking apart and we couldn't reach them. We have to try to save them. But we won't last in that icy water, said Dorothy Ann. Never fear, said the Frizz. Where there's Liz, there's a way. She gave a whistle and then called out, hit it, Liz. Uh-oh, I think the Frizz has an idea. Liz ran into the bus and pulled a lever on the dashboard. Suddenly, the roof of the bus opened and something came flying across the water right in front of us. We swam for the bus. We felt warm in our blubber suits. We've been slimed. Actually, we've been blubbered. Good work, Liz. We were glad to be back together, but we still had to find a way to warm up the bus so we could get back home. We tried exercising. The heat escaping from our bodies melted the fat and warmed up the bus for a while. Then the heat escaped out of the top of the bus. We need something to trap the heat and keep it inside, Arnold said. The heat is getting away. We need an insulation inspiration. Luckily, the bus had special igloo building equipment, so we built an igloo around the bus to trap escaping heat. Miss Frizzle explained that the snow on the igloo can trap heat because snow is filled with tiny air pockets. The heat moves into these air pockets and gets blocked. You mean there's air in the snow? Yes, tiny air pockets are what make snow light and fluffy. As soon as our igloo was built, we went back to exercising. It was a big workout. The heat from our bodies was kept inside the igloo, so the bus started to warm up. Before you could say jumping jack, the engine was ready to go, and we put the blubber to the road. Our bodies make heat and the air holds it in. So that's why they call it aerobic exercise. We were just in time. Miss Frizzle turned the bus into a helicopter and got us out of there just before the ice floe broke into tiny pieces. We've been saved by the bus. Look again, we've been saved by the busicopter. Back at home, Arnold ordered another nice mug of hot cocoa, but this time he wasn't going to let the heat escape. He wrapped up his drink in a homemade, double-layered, zipper-lidded, quilted cocoa cozy. Well, as Miss Frizzle always says, the inspiration of insulation. I see Arnold's got another hot drink, and this time it's going to stay hot. And that is the end of the story of the magic school bus in the Arctic. And today we don't have any Little J birthdays, so have a great day. I love you, Little Jays, and Miss Frizzle will be back tomorrow.